Okay, here we are. Welcome back. Hey, Mike. How's it going?
Good.
Okay, so now that we've talked a little bit about offensive coordinator stuff, let's talk a little bit about the season that is, the rest of the season coming up for the Vikings. So they got Miami this week. Miami just beat New England on last second, whatever.
Yep.
What kind of chance do you give the Vikings to win this game?
We're going to blast them.
You think so? You think it's going to be a big win? No?
Yep.
Here's my hot take is that they're going to do – it's basically what you have been saying, all the stats that you have been reading off this entire the first half of this podcast is that I think they're going to do basically the same thing. I think they're not going to be able to run the ball. I don't think they're going to be very good on the offensive line, and I don't think they're going to move the ball very well on offense, but I think they're going to win because I think the defense is going to score, and everybody's going to be so happy, and everything's fine. And in
best
reality,
offense ever.
Yeah, exactly, and nothing is going to change. It'll all be the same issues, and all of those issues start with the terrible, terrible, terrible offensive line. But you think they're going to win big. You think the team is going to be inspired by this, huh?
Yep. I want Kirk Cousins to audible out of every run that is called.
Only passes. Also, this is an argument that has been made that Kirk Cousins is audibling out of plays. They were getting up to the line with under 5 seconds left on the play clock. He wasn't audibling out of anything against Seattle.
Not yesterday, no.
Yeah, they were just running what was being called, which also is concerning that it's taking them that long or was taking them that long to get the play call in. Hopefully all of that is rectified.
It should be.
With the new offensive coordinator. You would think so, but you would also think they'd be able to run the ball effectively given the weapons that they have. But they haven't been able to do that.
I think Stefanski's going to line up at running back, so that'll solve everything.
Yeah, that won't be an issue. They'll just it'll be Mike Zimmer and Stefanski in the backfield, no problem.
Zimmer.
Do you think, is there a chance that DiFilippo was well-liked enough in that place that this could be like kind of the beginning of the end for the Vikings, where like the team, this is like some mutiny stuff that we're about to watch now, is like the team shuts down on it? I'm
not sure about that. I mean, it could be.
Yeah,
if he was really well liked, then they're in trouble.
Yeah, it wouldn't shock me if that was the case. But I don't know. He also hadn't been there that long. He's only been there for the one season.
Yeah.
If it was somebody else, maybe it's a different story. But yeah, man, I was telling my fiance, this game went from like a 4 on the scale of importance, 1 to 10, to about like a 9.5 importance. Like, it is so interesting. It is going to be so interesting to see how the offense looks, to see what they're going to do on offense. And I don't know, like, because they have this game. Who do they play before Chicago? What's the second to the last game of the season? Do you know the answer to that? I cannot remember who it is. It's not Green Bay because they played them twice. Oh, it's Detroit is who it is. You still there, Mike? You still with me?
Yes, the Lions.
Okay.
Sorry.
All right. Yes, it is Detroit. So very possible they beat Miami. Very possible they beat Detroit. And then all of a sudden, you're staring at, division showdown game, possibly, with the Bears. Or you're playing the Bears, and the Bears have no reason to play, and you're going to win that game, probably for a rematch. But what is your prediction for the rest of this season? What do you think? They got 3 games before the playoffs. What do you think they go in those 3 games?
3-0.
3-0. You really think they're going to be like
the Lions game is going to be the toughest one. The Bears won't have anything to play for, and they're going to sit everybody because we'll play them the next week in the playoffs.
It's true. And also, McVay has been doing the even preseason games. He didn't play any of his starters for any of the preseason games. So, they are definitely not playing if there's nothing to play for starter-wise. Nope. That would be ideal. God, 3-0. It's kind of hard for me to believe at this point, given what we saw yesterday. But when you explain it like that, though, it's not that hard to envision, because really the game is going to be Detroit. Because everything else, if you take care of everything else, you're fine.
Yep.
Does it concern you that Miami beat New England last week, or does the last play, is that too fluky? And because if they lose, And, they were like 99.9% chance on that last play that they were going to lose. If they lose this game, we're looking at Miami completely differently this week, are we not? Like, are we giving them more credit than they deserve because of that final play?
No, I'm not at all. No. They got Tom Brady over 80 degrees. He sucks over 80 degrees.
What is the stat on that? Is he like, is
like
that
1 in 6 or something? 1 in 7?
If it's hot, he can't handle it.
Yep.
Man, Tom Brady, he's a joke. There,
overrated.
Yeah, totally overrated. I'm not gonna lie, I was shocked that Miami beat New England, but when you kind of look at how they beat them and what took place in order for them to get that win, I don't think Miami's all that talented.
No,
I don't think they're should be feared by any stretch. But God, we've seen this Vikings team get killed by the Bills. It's like, we should have known right then that those Super Bowl hopes were out the window, right?
Yeah.
Shouldn't we have known that? I was not ready to admit that at that point. But God almighty, we should have known then that this was going to be kind of a disaster going forward. What is your prediction on the Miami game? Do you have a prediction? You said big, 50, right? They're going to win by 50 points? That's your call?
No. Let's do 29-11.
Wow, 29-11.
Yeah, let's go Chris Berman on it. Now let's throw out odd numbers.
That's interesting because I'm going to go 13-18 Vikings.
Ugh.
No, I'm just joking. I was throwing that out. Honestly, I think it's going to be tight. I think the Vikings will win, but I feel like it's, like I said, I feel like it's going to be, the offense isn't going to do anything. It's not going to be impressive. The defense is going to score, and they're going to win like 14-7 or 14-10 or 14-6 or something like that. But
the offense is better now because I got rid of Filippo.
Well, I mean,
I don't understand what's going on.
It definitely will be better. Yeah, man. The assumption, we're doing this again. We did this when we hired John DeFilippo, and we're doing this again now that DeFilippo's fired and Stefanski's stepping in.
I'm being sarcastic.
Obviously, everybody's assuming that everything's going to get better, that just this one move is going to be enough to, fix everything. And I think that's just a garbage take. Like, I just don't
it is.
think
It's stupid.
Yeah, I don't think there's any way that's possible. Best case scenario for this team for the rest of the year. What do you think is their ceiling right now to, Super Bowl weekend, if you haven't gone that far? What do you think is the ceiling of this team?
Wild card loss to the Bears.
Maximum.
Yeah.
See, I understand why you say that. I'm not necessarily disagreeing, but I think back to how they played against Chicago, how they played against the Rams, and I think that if they get in there and play better, they don't even see, that's the thing, is they don't even have to play. It's not like a night and day difference. They just have to put a game together where the defense plays well and the offense can move the ball. If they score twice early on anybody, it's game over.
Yeah.
Good
luck doing that against the Bears.
Yeah. Okay, so maybe not game over, but you see what I'm saying. You go up a couple of scores, you can control the tempo. Feels like the defense could take advantage and maybe mess things up for even a good team like a Rams or a Chicago, or I'm not.
Chicago scares me more than the Rams.
Oh, no way, man.
Yeah, dude, that defense in their house. Oh, no.
Very impressive. How impressed with them were you in that Rams game? To hold the Rams to that number.
It's ridiculous.
Oh, man, it was. I really thought the Bears were going to lose that game.
Mm-hmm.
And now I'm wondering if they're, ever going to lose again. God, ceiling for the Vikings, though, I feel like if they play well, not that they even need to, play great, but if they play well, I feel like they can win a game in the playoffs. But it's so hard for me to envision them going to an NFC Championship game. I just think that's bonkers.
No, we'd have to get through the Rams or the Saints.
That's what I'm saying. And I don't think that. I think the Saints are going to be in the Super Bowl. I just don't see anybody messing with the Saints.
Nah,
they've been so consistent.
No. Well, if they get home field, yeah. If they got to go to L.A., no.
Yeah. Well, I'm seeing L.A. does have a little bit of a home advantage, obviously, because it is in L.A., but
it's the grass.
But God almighty, if everybody has to go through New Orleans, you can just put them in the Super Bowl right now because the
grass slows them down.
Yeah, I just can't imagine that they lose that game. Yeah, I think you're right, man. I think, honestly, the ceiling is basically, like, you get into the playoffs and that's it. I mean, that's all we can hope for as Vikings fans.
That will save Zimmer's job.
Getting into the playoffs?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
God, see, even if they miss the playoffs, I don't think that Zimmer gets fired because there's so many different things you can point to from a, if I'm the owner of the Vikings, you can just list that.
His doing.
Well,
fire the offensive coordinator.
Yeah, some of them are his doing, but like the offensive line coach dying, that wasn't his fault.
Oh, that wasn't his
fault. The
fault.
really good offensive coordinator going to be a head coach, that's not his fault. And
he could have blocked it.
Blocked.
Sure.
Shermer?
Sure.
No.
I'm kidding.
I'm kidding. I don't think you can block that either. But no, I mean, I hear what you're saying. I think one thing that we can definitely say about this whole like event is a lot of people have been putting Zimmer kind of up on this pedestal, like he's an old school defensive guy, and we really like it. And
including me until week 12.
No, totally, I'm guilty as charged. And now it all of a sudden is like I'm starting to not look at Zimmer as like the guy that can lead us to the Super Bowl. I'm kind of starting to see him as a guy that can't really get out of his own way a lot of times. And then I start to look at his previous history and all the different jobs that he interviewed for and didn't get, and how long he was a coordinator in the NFL without being a head coach. And I'm starting to wonder if maybe that was the issue, was his ability to communicate with the people under him, and then his inability to leave it alone when he needs to leave it alone, or get involved when he needs to get involved, and then being able to tell the difference between those two. And now I'm looking at it, and I'm starting to wonder if he can't tell the difference between those two, and he's about to screw this whole thing up. Because
he already did. He already did.
I mean, they still got a good core of talented players. The defense is still going to be very good. I don't think it's the end of the world to get rid of an offensive coordinator right now. I think it kills your season this year.
Yeah.
But like long-term wise, I don't think they're screwed.
And at least, if you're going to fire the guy, let him go out calling his own game, not your game. Let him go out with his plays.
I mean, yeah. I mean, I understand what you're saying, but at the end of the day, you're the head coach. It's
6-4,
it's your
his plays. 0-2, Zimmer's plays.
I don't know if Zimmer is calling the plays.
24 points a game,
I'll give you
or
medley.
8.5 points a game. Which one do you like better? Yeah,
I like W's, Mike.
We know Zimmer's scheme. Fire him now, and we can still run the same defense.
Oh man! And then just make George Edwards the defensive.
He's the one that installs it all. Zimmer tells him what to install. He installs it.
But what if Zimmer's not going to tell him what to install? Will it still be as successful?
Yeah.
Do you think there's life after it? Let's say, here's this for a hypothetical. Let's say they don't make the playoffs. Let's say Zimmer gets fired this season.
Mm-hmm.
Without even like thinking about who you bring in, where do you think this team is at this point next year with a new head coach? Do you think it would be better or worse? Do you think it's more likely to be better or more likely to be a worse record? I'm putting you on the spot. I mean, that's
more likely to be
question,
better because we won't have as tough as a schedule.
Yeah, no, I guess the schedule will be easier. That's the same thing, man. Worst thing that happened to this team was their success last year. Because now the schedule gets more difficult. All this stuff gets more difficult. And we're like, oh, what happened? Well, a lot of things happened.
Our schedule.
Actually.
Brutal.
Absolutely brutal.
And I'm not talking
and go to Seattle at this point.
And go to the Rams. I mean, we won at Philly. Saints had to come here, but after all that, we got all supposedly cupcakes at home. Buffalo, Arizona, Miami. Give us one of those other games at home.
Yeah.
I mean, really?
Yeah. And you're just, I mean, because then what do you face this gauntlet? I mean, this is totally it. And now they have fired this guy. And in reality, it is very possible that the reason they look like garbage was because those teams were really good that you were playing just now. Like 3 weeks in a row of teams that were really, really good on the road. Yeah.
This
the
whole
offense looked not so good. Well, no kidding. It was New England in December.
This whole move was Zimmer looking out for his defense. I'm convinced.
I mean, it's hard to argue, to be honest with you. And from a head coaching perspective, like I get that Zimmer is going to want to look defense first. Like I understand that.
Yep.
But isn't it also his job to make sure that offense is working the way it's supposed to?
It was working until he freaking nosed in it. Look, this was all about his defense. He's got a big ego when it comes to his defense. His defense has been leaky. We've already given up 40 more points than all last year. Still got 3 games to go.
It's true. The defense is definitely,
he wants
not as
grind them out, no turnovers, put the defense in the best possible position, and then you move on from there.
Yeah.
And he's not getting that with Cousins because that's not Cousins.
No, it's not. And meanwhile, the entire league is shifting to a certain kind of like offensive look. I don't want to say a certain kind of defensive look because he is kind of on the, that threshold. But like the offense is doing some different stuff. He's trying to adapt on defense. And meanwhile, his offense is looking.
Did you see one double A gap even look yesterday during the whole game?
Not that I remember.
No.
Not that I remember.
Because it doesn't work anymore.
Yeah, I mean,
teams have figured it out. They just do motions. They motion everybody.
For sure. And that's the thing about in the NFL as a whole is that all the time. It's a new thing. Like the Wildcat screwed the league up for a year and a half. Like this, we've seen this kind of stuff happen before, and it's the same on offense as it is on defense. I just am having such a tough time envisioning the Vikings having an offense that can compete with those other offenses while Zimmer is the head coach. Because I think you're right. I think he's totally geared toward his defense.
Yep.
And I don't think he wants an offense that is going to, an
10 plays, 6-minute drives. He doesn't want 3 plays, 45 seconds.
That's what I was just going to say was even if you're scoring a lot of points, if you're scoring too quickly, he's not going to like it because that means his defense is out there for too long and his defense is going to look like garbage and he's going to have to answer questions about his garbage defense. You might be onto something here, Mike. I'm not going to lie to you. You might have it nailed. The question, though, as far as the success of the team is concerned, is can they get a productive enough offense with Zimmer as the head coach to win a Super Bowl? What is your answer to that?
If he ignores it like he did since he got here,
then he'll be
let the people you hire do it.
Well, he hasn't even been because he was meddling with Norv. Norv quit.
Yeah.
The only time he left it alone was Pat
Shurmur, and that's because Shurmur was bowing down to him.
Yeah.
Get out of it.
I mean, that worked pretty well for Pat Shurmur in the Case Keenum thing, but yeah, man, maybe that's a whole philosophical change to I don't want Cousins anymore. We should trade him and just get the.
No, I'm not saying that.
Well, no,
you got to let Cousins be Cousins.
Yeah, and that means
why you brought him here.
Yeah, and that means letting him throw an interception or two.
Yeah,
every time I say Kirk Cousins out loud, I keep flashing to that play where he's throwing the ball directly behind him.
That was awesome.
The running back.
That was Tom Brady. People would be raving about it.
For real.
If it was Aaron Rodgers, they'd be raving about it.
Look at
but it's Kirk Cousins. Everyone hates Kirk Cousins. Everybody.
It's so weird to me. And, Kelly said that too, where he was doing an interview and she's like, I just don't really like his face. I don't like the way he looks and smiles. And he is kind of a smarmy, I don't know if I like Kirk Cousins. I want to like him. I don't know. He's
down to earth, religious. He's just a normal guy. Happens to play quarterback for the NFL.
Yeah, totally. It just happens to be that guy. You know what I was also noticing between him and Russell Wilson, too, is God, could you – I would make it maybe 2.5 minutes in a room alone with those two. It's polite and complimenting one another and it's a pleasure to be in this room with you, man. It was just vomit inducing. They're both such nice guys, It's isn't there a competitive anger? Isn't there a fire going on here?
Oh yeah, there is.
I mean, there is. That? There has to be, but I never see that. That's not the Kirk Cousins that we see. We just get smiley, I take a rock out of the thing every day. That's the Kirk Cousins we have seen. Where is the angry, I just led this team to a victory, Kirk Cousins? I want to see that guy. I understand people being frustrated that he's getting paid too much money, but I just need
he's not getting paid too much money.
No, he's not. It's an outrageous argument, and it frustrates me to no end. But how many times have you heard Kirk Cousins mentioned today without being immediately followed up by how much money he made?
You know why people don't like it? He had the first guaranteed contract in the NFL.
Yeah.
And people are pissed that it's Kirk Cousins. Would they have said anything if it was Tom Brady? Aaron Rodgers, even Matthew Stafford, who is record-wise, all the stats they say is bad about Cousins. Mm-hmm. Stafford's been in the league 5 years longer and has the same stats.
Yeah.
I mean, it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
But Stafford is, he's so good. He's so good.
Exactly. That's the perception of Stafford is like, it's not his fault. He's in Detroit, But Cousins couldn't get it done in Washington, and it was some issue that he had as opposed to, like, the most dysfunctional franchise in the NFL. Like, look at what they've done so far. Also, nobody's talking about the guy that Washington signed anymore. Does anybody notice that? That wasn't that long ago. When that guy got cut for getting in trouble, they signed him. People were pissed. Nobody bringing it up anymore. Well, we got a couple of minutes left here, Mike. I mean, we did a little bit of the predicting thing, but I want to do. It's my favorite segment that we do. So I wanted to get it in real quick before we get done.
All right.
I'm just going to leave it wide open because I didn't really have any categories. It's easy to do with the Timberwolves and all the different sports we were covering. But who, just for this week in general, are you going to boo? I think I know your answer, but I want to ask you. Who do you boo this week, Mike?
What kind of swear words can I say?
You can say all the swear words. We're checked for explicit content. So
Mike Zimmer's bitch ass.
Those were good. That's a good choice. Yeah, I kind of I'm not gonna lie. I kind of thought you were gonna go Zimmer with the boo this week. Mike Zimmer's bitch ass. I am going to boo this week. This is we didn't really talk a ton about the offensive line, but I am going to boo Rick Spielman. Because if we're looking at all this,
good one.
It can all be pointed right at the offensive line. Yep. They needed to get better on the offensive line in the draft and free agency. They really didn't. I wasn't too wound up about it beforehand because I thought that they were going to be healthy. They weren't healthy. The coach passes away. Total dumpster fire. On top of all that, you hire this offensive coordinator who's supposed to be this great guy. He turns out to be a disaster. Spielman is the guy hiring these guys. I choose this week to boo Rick Spielman. Get better, bro. Hopefully Stefanski saves everybody, but come on.
Filippo was not a disaster. Take that back.
All right. He wasn't a disaster.
He wasn't as advertised. Maybe.
No, that's a better way to put it. He was not as advertised. And you know who was selling me on that, dude?
For crying out loud.
You know who was selling me on that, dude? Well, you too, but everybody, including Rick Spielman. Because this was supposed to be that offense that he was coming in here with was going to be a lot like Pat Shurmur's, but better. Incorrect.
Yeah, it was the same. It was 24 points a game. Yeah. That's what you look at, 24 points a game. It might be a little less because I didn't factor in defensive touchdowns too when I did the math.
But
so
no, I mean,
let's say 23.
Still, it's a legitimate argument to make though. When even if it were 6 points difference, it would be worth looking at because that is the same amount of production and way less. How do I want to say? Way lower company morale is the way we'll go with that.
If we were 10-3-1, no one would be saying anything.
100%. And if we were playing the third place teams in the division, they'd probably be
10-3-1.
Yeah. Yep. I think that would be fair. Well, it's been wonderful, Mike. I'm sorry the break took a little bit longer than I anticipated, but a pleasure as always, good sir.
Yeah, it was cool.
Yeah, let's do it again. Let's do it again next week. What do you think?
Sure. Next Tuesday. Let's try that.
All right. Sounds good to me.
Okay. Cool.
We'll see you next time, Mike. Peace.
All right, dude. See you.